Good evening, afternoon, whenever you happen to listen, and welcome to the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
Sports in black and white.
The all-sports edition for the week of October 6th, technically, because we should have recorded this on a Thursday, so we'll go with that. And I got to tell you, Eric, I am punchier than Draymond Green when he's around Jordan Poole.
Okay, Harry, you weren't lying. You did crack him.
You warned me, and I should have expected this. He went full on, and the timing is so poignant because I also had a dynasty basketball league that You win.
I'm your host. My name is Harry Broadhurst. I am the voice of reason. Allegedly. Joining me, as per usual, the HNIC of the podcast division of American Whammy Media, Erik Watkins.
Why are you doing the thing? This is the normal.
I just got a gimmick infringed, apparently. I got to pull the Travolta out because apparently I just got a gimmick infringed.
Yep.
I got mini death glared into the camera with the allegedly.
That's the allegedly is how I start every episode. The voice of reason allegedly goes all the way back to the days.
No,
of the
I know
kickoff.
that, but you pulled the me with the mini death glare into the camera.
I've been doing that ever since we want video.
Have I been getting gimmick infringed this entire freaking time and not even been told about it?
Yes.
More importantly, I've been doing it longer, so technically you're stealing my shtick.
Hey, Harry.
And we have nothing to shtick but shtick itself.
God damn it, it's not in this. That's okay. I can add it to this one.
What were you trying to... Oh, no. Is the producer producing things?
Hey, Harry, I got 2 words for you. They're your own words, too, by the way.
Yes!
I have no idea what just happened. It didn't show up on my screen.
Of course it didn't. Of course it didn't.
He may have produced something, but I didn't see it. Did you see it, Erik?
I did see it.
Oh, well, then he saw it, and I guess maybe the people at home saw it. Yeah, in case you haven't noticed.
I played the Vince McMahon clip of you saying you're fired.
He Harry McMahon'd you.
We can't say those 2 words together after what he was accused of.
That's why I said Harry McMahon. If he Vince McMahon'd you,
no, his Harry McMahon is what got him in trouble.
Okay, fair. You have a point.
Hey, phrasing!
Clip of the rim shot.
The correct answer is
phrasing.
The correct answer is ¿Por qué no los dos? Because this is the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
Does he get a
black and white?
Does he get one?
And Spanish. And Spanish. Now we just need an R somewhere, and then we got the whole spread. Get it, BWS? No. I'm trying here.
My head hurts. It's too late for this. All right, let's get back on track here, or on track to begin with. That's Standards and Practices, a.k.a. Brian Espinoza, the head of...
Shit, I better run. I'm not allowed to be here.
The head of American Whammy Productions. So,
we try not to act like it.
All sports episode of BWSR here. However, we are going to keep things brief because of the fact that we are recording at such a late time, in addition to the fact that we ran almost 2 hours with the football episode, so we figure we'll give you guys something nice, easy, and digestible
that ain't
here
my fault.
for the all sports episode.
Don't look at me, Watkins.
I blame Antonio Brown. His length rubbed off on us.
I was gonna say. That's it. I'm doing a thing.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
We only have 2 stories for you guys today here on the All Sports Edition. We're going to follow up, and we're going to get serious for the follow up here because this is a very serious subject. So we'll take this very seriously, and then we're going to follow up our conversation about the Aussie rules. Two so far. He's safe for this one. I make no promises for our playoff predictions. We're going to follow up the Aussie rules coaching debacle story that we covered the last time we were with you here on the All Sports episode. And then we have our 2022 MLB postseason predictions as well here on BWSR. So, Mr. Watkins, in the interest of saving the levity for the end, let's go ahead and get into the serious right now, and let's go ahead and talk about the fallout and, well, let's be honest, the breakdown of the Aussie rules, of Australian Rules Football League.
Well, for those of you who watched previously, when we talked about all of the allegations of racism and mistreatment towards Indigenous players in Australia, since then, and to cover that in brief, during the time of Alistair Clarkson, Hawthorn head coach at the time, 3 premierships, now coach for the time being at North Melbourne. During his tenure, a scathing report came out featuring a lot of interviews from former players and allegations of racism and just total mistreatment against Indigenous players. Since then, there has been a lot of hoopla about what has come out in this report, so much that the league CEO, Gillan McLaughlin, who's still on, he hasn't stepped down yet, he is setting up an independent committee to review thoroughly all of these allegations. There have been some questions about, say, the true independence of the committee, and Alistair Clarkson in particular came out and said, I was not interviewed. They did not reach out to me for the reporting, which ABC, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, and their legal team came out with a statement saying, yes, we have interviews from players. Our reporting is fair and accurate. We reached out to Clarkson at multiple times throughout the investigation, and he did not return any comment. When you have this in sort of a different way, tying into the Yates report now with systemic abuse of players in the National Women's Soccer League, these kinds of issues are becoming more and more prevalent, and with the different commissions almost going to a gubernatorial level, this is not going to go away anytime soon. You've also had famous Indigenous players like Eddie Betts. Sean Burgoyne has spoken out on the issue. Eddie in particular joined a chorus of others saying, okay, you're going ahead and reviewing this. Don't just review this period of time, review before and after, and go ahead with this review at every club, not just Hawthorn. So it's set to be a long summer down under.
You could say he got sucked in, mate.
Is it beyond stores that make? Oh my
Yeah,
God,
but I think a
it's
necessary
unbelievable.
one. And the reason I say that is because with NWSL having its breakthrough,
I think your audio is having a few issues.
try this again.
Harry Broadhurst is having some technical
I think
issues
it's a
and will
necessary
not be
process.
heard tonight.
Okay, there we go. And he'll be back momentarily. But with some of these things and getting the gist of what he was saying about this being a necessary process, absolutely, because you are talking about professional athletes on two different sides of the planet.
Apologies for that. Yeah, I think it's a necessary situation, though. And let's go back to the whole speaking out thing, too, with regards to the NWSL thing and the I stand with the players, because of what happened in Portland and Seattle and a couple of other various franchises as well. Even to the point of, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago with the owner of the Phoenix Suns and the absolutely heinous comments that he made. The point being is that for far too long, coaches, staff, and ownership has been able to get away with anything that they've deemed appropriate on the basis of almost a dictatorship-esque running of these programs. And now we're starting to see more and more of these players and these franchises and these athletes telling these ownership that, yes, you may pay our salaries, but you don't own us. And you're not going to get away with being total dictators, focus on the dick part of that statement, towards the players, towards the staff, towards on any level, i.e. the women's, the National Women's Soccer League situation there, the indigenous players down in Australia, going back even as far as the Donald Sterling comments with the Los Angeles Clippers. The players and the leagues and the ownerships therein are starting to have accountability towards these owners so that you don't have another situation of a Marge Schott running wild on Major League Baseball like she did back in the 90s, where you don't have another situation of a Bud Selig driving baseball into the ground with piss poor management.
I'm glad that we're finally, I mean, yeah, it's kind of sad. It's 2022, but I am very happy about the fact that I said esports orgs. Well, I mean, that doesn't, it's not entirely too far off the mark. We did have the recent esports situation with G2. But
yeah,
I am glad
G2 with Carlos
that,
isn't exempt.
I'm glad to see that sports organizations are whatchamacallit, are finally having some accountability.
Absolutely. I think these have really been some watershed times because you can't have leagues without players. They're the ones driving the fans and everything else.
Day late and a dollar short, but
better late than never.
That's kind of basically what I was about to say. Yeah, better late than never, really.
It all comes back down to a simple philosophy we here at Broadhurst-Watkins have had going back to our days in the kickoff. It's 4 simple letters, everybody, and it goes to ownership, players, management, and all involved. Don't be a dick. It's that simple.
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
Treat people the way that you would want to be treated, because I guarantee you that if any of these players had popped off at management like these managements have popped off at the players, at the staff and stuff, before all of this came to light, that they would be gone in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. And their reputations would have been shat on and everything else. Back in the day, you would have had some elements of collusion, all of that.
2 simple words, although technically 1 word to some: blacklisted.
I'm pretty sure blacklisted is just 1 word, but I'm yeah. I mean, that's how the esports orgs are reacting to these things nowadays. It's like, yeah, no, we don't care. You're done, buddy. You're done.
Don't go dragging us down with all of your shit.
And to the players, and to the players affected by these statements and comments made by these coaches, first of all, thank you for having the courage to come forward. Second, may you not see any backlash from having said courage. Third, we stand with the players, and we hope that everything that comes to these people comes to them because of your courage to come forward. Same with the NWSL players. I stand with the players.
And the fact that they went through all of that and still put on a hell of a match, the U.S. women's national team in England.
I heard those two teams had a banger. Multiple VAR reviews involved as well. I want to say ESPN had the game, if I'm not mistaken.
They did.
Yeah. So if you have ESPN, such as myself and Mr. Watkins, ESPN Plus, such as myself and Mr. Watkins do, you could probably go back and watch the game on demand if you missed it live.
It's worth it too.
All right, so we won't spoil anything as far as the results go, at least in terms of the final score or anything. I do know who won the match,
Same.
and I also know that it's probably setting the stage for next year and the Women's World Cup.
Australia, you're in line for a hell of a tournament. Australia and New Zealand.
Appropriate that that's the location, given the conversation being where it is right now in terms of Aussie rules. But again, to the players, may you find peace in these troubling times, knowing that you made the right choice to come forward. And to the owners, don't be a dick. It's not that difficult of a concept.
No.
I mean, it really isn't.
It's golden rule theory for a modern age. Treat others the way that you want to be treated. If you wouldn't let somebody talk to you the way that you talk to them, maybe take a look in the mirror and realize that you're not the kind of person you should be. Okay. There's our follow-up. Obviously, we will be keeping a greater eye on this story as more develops. I'm sure this is not the last update that we will have on this. And even if it's too late, any progress is good progress. All right, we move forward. Our other main topic of discussion for tonight is the 2022 MLB postseason, which officially kicked off, well, technically tonight. So, in the spirit of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Forthrightness, we'll go with, because I feel like that works. All 4 game ones of the wild card series are in the books at the time of recording. However, we are going to Boy Scouts honor our original predictions for these wild card series, as well as our progression through the rest of the MLB postseason. Mr. Espinoza, will you be chiming in with predictions as well?
Probably not. I'm way too far behind.
All right, then if you don't mind,
I may put in a as we would call them on parallel convergence chaos predictions, but
all right, then
probably not happening.
All right, then if you don't mind, if you could give myself and Mr. Watkins the screen. Thank you. All right, Erik. I feel like we've done this over the course of the last couple of postseasons, and it's been relatively even between the two of us.
Oh, yeah.
You won hockey last year. I won basketball. I think we tied on our NFL predictions. We got the same number right for the NFL postseason. But then I won March Madness because I had Kansas winning the title.
If only. But our run still wasn't bad. We lost to the defending we lost to the national champions. So that's one sport that I can't be bitter about.
You lost to the national champions in a round you had never previously been to.
That's why that is one sport that I thankfully have no reason to be bitter about.
For those of you that don't remember, the Jayhawks knocked out the Hurricanes in the Elite Eight last year. All right, sir. Let's get to the heart of the matter and let's get to our MLB predictions, shall we?
Let's.
3-5-7-7, I believe.
Correct. Yes.
All right. So your wild card rounds will be 3 games, best of 3 at the host stadium. So, in the interest of giving you guys full disclosure here, we will go through the full bracket here. In the American League, actually, why don't you take the American League because you're the American League guy, and then I'll take the National League.
Sure. So in the American League, we have the AL Central Guardians as the 3 seed, hosting as the 6 seed my Tampa Bay Rays, with the winner going on to face the AL East champion and the 2 seed New York Yankees. In the other series, you have the Toronto Blue Jays, runners up, hosting the Seattle Mariners in the 4-5 matchup in a best of 3. Winner taking on the top seed in the American League, the Houston Astros.
Your AL West champions.
Mm-hmm.
The American League East has 3 teams. The Guardians only out of the Central, and then the Stros and the Mariners out of the West. Over in the National League, well, it's pretty much the same story, except it's the West that gets 2 teams. No, it is exactly the same story.
Yeah, the East had 3.
The West has 2, and the Central only has the champions.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically enough, it's the Central champions in both leagues that have to play in the wild card weekend. Man, the more things change, right? Over in the National League, your National League regular season champions and the number 1 overall seed are the Los Angeles Dodgers. They will play the winner of the 4-5 matchup, which is the New York Mets hosting the San Diego Padres. The 2 seed and the National League East champions are my Atlanta Braves. They will host the winners of the 3-6 matchup, the NL Central champion St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, again, at time of recording, the first game for each of the wild card series is over. Cleveland beat Tampa Bay 2-1. Philadelphia beat St. Louis 6-3. Seattle shut out Toronto 4-0. And in the nightcap, San Diego beat the Mets 7-1. So Cleveland, Seattle, Philadelphia, and the San Diego all have 1-0 leads in their collective series. In terms of our actual predictions, however, I would have had Tampa Bay in 3 because I think Tampa Bay and Cleveland match up well, but I do think that Tampa Bay's experience helps carry them. So that's still a possibility. I will say that this series happening in Cleveland does give the Guardians a significant advantage just due to the weather. This time of the year, it would be significantly warmer in Florida than it will be in Cleveland. Therefore,
not to mention the fact that we play indoors.
Oh, yeah, the Trop is domed, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So having an open air stadium in the fall up with Progressive Field or the Jake or whatever you want to call it. Is it still Progressive Field? I think it's still Progressive Field.
I think it's still Progressive Field.
But so I will say that my official prediction for that series was Tampa Bay in 3.
I'm going to be honest. My heart was definitely picking Tampa Bay. However, even though the Guardians were mainly mediocre, we were in a perfect position to even lock up the 4th spot, as bad as that would have been down the road. But during the last 10-15 games of the season, Shane McClanahan wasn't doing well, and we could not hit for shit.
Well,
and
tonight McClanahan did okay. He went 6. The problem is in the course of going 6, he had one particular pitch to Jose Ramirez that he probably really wants back.
Precisely. And the fact that as well as he did, we could not answer. And that was just a flat-out pitcher's duel, scoreless as of like the 5th inning.
What was it? 3 hits for Tampa Bay in game 1? Not going to win many postseason games getting 3 hits.
No. I was honestly confident that we would take 1. Still confident that we would take 1, but with the way that we slumped Guardians in 3, it makes me sad, but what can we do? When you can't finish, you'll exit quickly.
Hey, phrasing?
Hey, phrase it.
Okay. The 4-5 matchup sees Toronto hosting Seattle, and this is a gut instinct here. Give me the Mariners in 3. And the reason I say Seattle in this series is I think Toronto was beat to death in the AL East this year. I think the problem for Toronto, and honestly, I think the problem for New York going forward as well, once we get into the second round of these playoffs, is that the East teams, the Yankees, Toronto, Tampa, and then to a lesser extent, Baltimore, and for most of the season, Boston, until they significantly crashed in like the last month of the season. They were all within shouting distance of each other, with the overall relative exception of the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
But all 4 other teams in that division were all within shouting distance of each other and all beating on each other there. Clearly the best division in baseball this season.
Because, absolutely.
Despite the fact that the National League East got 3 teams as well, the bottom 2 teams in the National League were the Washington Nationals and the Miami Marlins, both of whom were up there for worst record in baseball overall. I believe the Nationals actually did end up with the worst record in baseball, if I'm not mistaken.
To confirm that really quick.
While Erik looks up the final regular season standings for the season to confirm my suspicions, I think that Seattle had a little bit easier of a time in the American League West. Texas had a down season. Oakland's garbage and has been for a while. And the Angels, despite having 2 of the best players in Major League Baseball on their franchise, in Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, significantly underwhelmed, and especially once Joel Madden was fired earlier this season. Seattle was kind of able to cruise off of a bad division, and I think that they're going to be able to keep that momentum going forward here because they're going to be less mentally fatigued than Toronto will have been, having been in a fight for the hopes of potentially chasing the Yankees for the 2, but knowing that wasn't likely going to happen, and then trying to figure out where they slotted the rest of the way in terms of the postseason chase. So I'm going to say Seattle in 3.
And for this one, this was actually going to be my first sweep. Because as good as Seattle was, and like you said, the weaker division, Washington ended up with the worst record at 55-107. Who was second worst? Oakland at 60-102.
And then I think Pittsburgh at 62-100.
Yeah, Pittsburgh and Cincinnati each at 62-100.
Okay.
So when you have, and like I said about the Rays and their closing run, number 1, run differential. Your hardcore sabermetric nerds, and to a lesser extent myself, they look at run differential when you look at expected wins. Toronto was significantly better. And even though in the last 10 games, both the Jays and M's finished 7-3, Toronto was finishing 7-3 against a little bit of a stronger competition. Plus, even though they're relying on a lot of their second-generation young guns like Guerrero and Biggio, this is a team that has much more recent postseason experience. Lest we forget, in the Big Four sports, the Mariners broke the longest playoff drought, making their first postseason appearance since 2001.
If I'm not mistaken, Griffey was still a Mariner the last time they were in the postseason, which should tell you how long ago that was. Because Junior left the Mariners in like 2003 to play with Cincinnati, and he's been retired for like a decade now.
Yep. So this is a very long time, and that first time is always going to be bumpy. I still think Toronto wins. I had them winning in a 2-game sweep.
I don't know. I think there's something about Toronto and that boost of being in the postseason for the first time in so long that I think will help them. I think that this is going to be a case of Uncle Mo pushing them over the top.
It easily could. If they end up prevailing, then hey, we'll wind up getting what could be interesting, although I doubt it, ALCS between Houston and Seattle, but I'm sticking with my boys in the East, at least this time.
ALDS for Houston and
Yeah,
Seattle.
ALDS, right.
One versus 4, or 1 versus 5, excuse me. Are you surprised that they're not reseeding?
No, because baseball has always been kind of funny like that, to where even with multiple rounds, they've never really, even as they expanded, felt the need to reseed. They may rethink that in a few years, but I doubt it.
Well, to be fair, though, this is the first time 6 teams have been in, not counting the COVID years.
Right.
Because the COVID year had 7, the top 7 in each league, the top 7 in each league made the postseason.
In 2020, it was top 8.
Was it top? So then was it top 7 last year? Because I don't think it was 6 last year.
Let me check.
It might have been 8 last year as well. Then.
No, this isn't. Well,
no.
No, last year it was your traditional 5 teams per league.
Okay, so they went back to the standard formula: wild card play-in game, wild card versus top seed, 2 versus 3.
Yep.
Okay. The 8 was too many. I think we can all agree on that. But in fairness, with the shortened season, it made sense to have an expanded postseason. And it did lead to something that had never previously happened in Major League Baseball, with sub-500 teams making the postseason. One of them actually going all the way to the American League Championship Series, the Houston Astros.
Yep, the only other time that would have happened had the season been completed was 94.
Sub-500 team leading one of the divisions.
The AL West. God, was that terrible.
I mean, in fairness, the AL West is still kind of garbage.
Not wrong.
All right, moving over to the National League, Mets and Phillies, or not Mets and Phillies, Mets and Padres. I had the Mets in a 2-game sweep. I didn't think that the Padres had enough. I thought that the Mets, while disappointed in their performance against the Braves in the last weekend of the season, where the Braves busted out the brooms on them in Atlanta, I figured that would motivate the Mets to want to try to get another crack at Atlanta and potentially in the National League Championship Series, even though they would run into a tough Dodgers team in the NLDS.
Same.
San Diego not getting Tatis Jr. back, I think, significantly hurt their potential as well, because Tatis has been arguably the heart and soul of that franchise the last 2 seasons. Granted, Machado's done very well since his migration from Baltimore to San Diego, but I do think that also the Mets pitching staff as well, with Jacob deGrom and Noah Syndergaard, would have made a significant difference for the Mets in a short series as well. So I would have said Mets in 2. Obviously, that's not going to happen after tonight's 7-1 San Diego victory. But I do still think the Mets end up taking the last 2 out of the series and winning and advancing and moving on.
I completely agree. I mean, San Diego, and it was good to see Yu Darvish on a postseason stage go ahead and get a big win like this, but I even think with the Mets rotation, it was a lot stronger. I had it in a 2-game sweep. I think they take it in 3, but that's not going to help going to the division series.
And the other thing that's not going to help is if their bats don't start picking up too, because they were able to get back into the postseason. They had already clinched their spot, but they came on off of a last week of the season sweep with a doubleheader and then a Wednesday game against, what was it, the Angels, I think. Muted the microphone just in time to catch that sneeze.
All right. Wednesday.
Rangers, maybe?
Against for the Padres?
No, for the Mets.
Mets played the Nationals.
Oh, so they came in against the worst team in baseball.
Yep.
Easy to build momentum with that. Okay. So yeah, like I said, I'm still standing by the Mets in that prediction here, but I will give credit to San Diego for being able to take the first game at Citi Field. The 4-5, or excuse me, that's the 4-5 matchup in the National League. The 3-6 matchup in the National League was the Central Division champion Cardinals, boosted by Albert Pujols and his absolute monster last 2 months of the regular season, against the number 6 seed Philadelphia Phillies, who had to stave off the Milwaukee Brewers in order to get in over the course of the last weekend. Philadelphia shocked the hell out of me, but in fairness, Philadelphia shocked a lot of people by busting out 6 runs in the top of the ninth to win 6-3 tonight. Because prior to that, they had been completely shut out. I had the Cardinals in 2. Having seen this Phillies team a lot this year when they played my Braves, I didn't trust them. I've seen their bats go cold on multiple occasions. I don't think that the Phillies have a lineup that was sustainable come October, because there was a lot of veteran talent on that team, but not a ton of postseason experienced veteran talent. And I did think that the Cardinals, boosted by Pujols and Yadier Molina in what's supposed to be their Cinderella run towards the end of their careers, I figured that, again, momentum of how they ended the regular season, as well as all of the hype and the hoopla around the fact that this is it for Yachty and for Pujols and for Wainwright, the starter.
Yep, Adam Wainwright.
That this is it for them, that you would think that that kind of momentum and that kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? That juju almost would carry over into the postseason. I'm not so sure it does now, after suffering the loss the way that they did tonight. Losing after leading going into the ninth inning 3-0, losing 6-3 the way that they did. I'm not sure that it sustains. I hope so, because as a baseball fan, I selfishly want to see as many more games as we can for Albert and Yachty and Wainwright. But it's kind of a back-breaking way to lose the first wildcard game at home, no less, in Busch.
But I'm going to be honest, if we were under the old format to where it was just, one and done, this would have been a terrible, bitter end, and then Philly would have gotten smoked. But that's why I'm very glad that they made this a best of 3, and the fact that Busch Stadium gets to host potentially all 3 games. I originally had the Cardinals again in a 2-game sweep because of everything with the mystique, the hoodoo that is the one last run. And also, as you mentioned, with Philly's lineup, not just the veteran talent for the age, injuries. There was a lot of touch and go as far as one of their main guys in Bryce Harper being with the team and being able to be in the postseason. Plus, you mentioned the Brewers. The Brewers more faded down the stretch rather than the Phillies benefited. Yeah, they went ahead. They handled their business. Going and looking at the schedule, they came in after facing the Astros, who smoked them. But the Brewers, the last 2.5 weeks, just kept losing and losing and losing. Philadelphia found their way in the back door. I had Cardinals in 2. I say Cardinals in 3 to get one last series win, but we'll find out through the division series where I think that ends.
Let's move back over to the American League, and we move to the divisional series, which for me, the 1 versus 5 matchup would be Houston and Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And while I like the Seattle fantasy of being back in the postseason, I also realize that Houston is a significantly better team. I think Seattle gets 1, but that's all they get. Give me the Stros in 4.
Oh, I'm leaning the same way against Toronto. I don't know if Toronto's going to have that much muscle going ahead after beating Seattle to make it a 5-game series. But I think they have enough, especially at home, to go ahead and take one from Houston. Strozen 4. Thankfully, this time without banging on any trash cans.
That we know of.
Again, that we know of.
My other divisional series matchup in the American League would be the 2-seed Yankees versus the 6-seed Tampa Bay Rays. It physically pains me to say this as a Braves fan. But is there a team coming into this postseason with more momentum than the Yankees right now? They lost to Texas on the next to last day of the regular season. But the series against Texas was meaningless because nothing was going to change for New York regardless. Houston had already clinched home field, and there was nothing for New York to play for. That said, we talked about momentum of moments and everything. I talked about Seattle having the momentum of being in the postseason for the first time there. Let's look at all the hype and the hoopla surrounding Aaron Judge and the Yankees this season, with Judge breaking the American League record for home runs in a regular season. Let's look at the hype of things finally turning around under the era of
Aaron Boone?
Aaron Boone thing. I was going to say Boone, and I wanted to make sure I said the right one. After 2 relatively disappointing seasons over the last 2 years. I would give Tampa 1 against New York, but that's all I would give them. Just because I think that New York has had Tampa Bay's number this season. And I also think that, like I said, there's no team coming in hotter this year into the postseason to me than the Yankees are. They have the third best record in the second half of the Major League Baseball season.
Mm-hmm.
And the only 2 teams to have a better record in the second half are in the National League. The Braves and the Dodgers.
1961. Roger Maris beat the Babe in a home run race of his own. They wound up winning the pennant, beating Cincinnati to win the World Series that year. You're telling me on a night where 99 hit 62 to put the Yankees at 99 and 62 at that time, and you're giving me them against a team from Ohio in the postseason? Yankees in a 3-game sweep. There's going to start to be a lot of hype about Team of Destiny.
Over in the National League, or did you have more, or were you done with that?
Oh, yeah, I was done with that one.
Okay. Over in the National League Divisional Series, the 1-seed Los Angeles Dodgers would face the 4-seed New York Mets. Remember what I said about the Dodgers being one of the hottest teams in baseball? Yeah, you can extend that over the entire course of the year. What was the final number? 111?
Oh,
112?
111. 111 and 51.
So 11, 5, 6, 5, 6, approximately or 625. So approximately 640-ish, 637.
685.
Oh, I was low. Wow.
The National League record for wins in a season, breaking the 86 Mets.
The American League record, I think we talked about a couple of weeks ago, was 114.
116.
116. I think I made that same mistake 2 weeks ago too. I am nothing if not consistent. Anyways, yeah. For our audio listeners, that was me with a broom and the Dodgers in 3.
I think in some ways that any extra game is going to favor them. They'll have to fiddle with their rotation. I'm giving the Mets one, but that's it. Because as hot as the Dodgers are and have been, again, Citi Field, I think the Mets steal 1, but then the Dodgers go ahead and close out the series the following night. Give me the Dodgers in 4.
Braves and Cardinals. It's a great story. But I seem to remember a couple of years ago, Acuna was relatively young, baby-faced even. Not that he's old by any stretch of the imagination now. But a couple of the other pieces of the franchise weren't even there yet. And I seem to remember this same Cardinals team ending Chipper Jones's career. What's that phrase about karma, Erik?
It's a bitch?
Yeah, it's also a Braves fan. Braves in 4.
I'm going to be completely honest. Similar reasoning, yes. But any team, especially like Atlanta, you smell any kind of blood in the water, knowing you've got a shot to go back to back when a handful of people expected you to. I don't even think it goes 4. I'm taking your Braves in a sweep.
I say 4. I wouldn't mind 5 just to finish them in Atlanta, but I worry that going the full 5 would give the Dodgers too much of an advantage, especially if they bust out the brooms on the Mets. So I'll say Braves in 4. That sets up our American and National League Championship series. And ironically enough, Erik, we arrived there. Different games in some cases, but same 4 teams. 1 versus 2 in both leagues. And given the quality of play from these 4 teams all season, I don't really think it's that much of a surprise.
Oh, no. I mean, this is where buys help, and you have the right teams, in my mind, earn those buys.
The American League side of things sees the Houston Astros with home field advantage against the New York Yankees. I don't think it matters. I think that this is a Yankee franchise bound and determined to put the last couple of postseasons behind them, and a Yankees franchise that has the correct pieces in the correct places to make that run. If I'm not mistaken, we did our baseball preview earlier this year, and I said my World Series was Yankees-Braves. I'm standing by at least half of that prediction here. And just as importantly, I'm standing by half of that prediction, finishing in Houston, Yankees in 6.
Remember what I said about teams of destiny. Go back to what my matchup was during our previews. The only reason why I'm putting the number of games is because I feel there's going to be one or two where Judge is going to go cold. He was this close. Had Boone put him in last game of the season, he had gotten 3 hits, we would be sitting with a Triple Crown winner. But as he goes, so do key parts of that lineup. However, something about teams of destiny, especially the Yankees. Need we say Aaron Boone with the Yankees in a game 7? Yankees in 7.
I swear to God, if somebody puts one just inside of a foul pole, I quit. Sorry, Red Sox fans. My bad. Aaron fucking Boone.
Bottom of the 11th. How do you think I felt? That was awful wakey.
The knuckleballer? Oh, poor Tim Wakefield.
Bottom of the 11th in game 7. Yeah.
Poor Tim Wakefield. That's okay. He got his ring. And the Red Sox got their revenge coming back from 3-0. All right, National League. I'm sitting over here debating. Do I go with my head or do I go with my heart? Because my head says that this Dodgers team is one of the best teams Major League Baseball has seen in a very long time. And the best team the National League has ever seen. You talked about it earlier, 111-51. My heart says, yeah, but this is a Braves team that hasn't been defeated in a postseason series in their last 4. NLDS, NLCS, World Series last year, and then obviously the NLDS this year to get to this one. 2020, Dodgers in 7. 2021, Braves in 6. 2022, it's a full boat again. And in these parts, we go big or we go homer. Fuck it. Braves in 7.
Remember what I said about run differential. Where do you think Atlanta was in run differential across all of Major League Baseball?
I'd imagine we had to have been near the top.
5th. Plus 180.
Oh, is this the thing about the Dodgers being like plus 300 or whatever?
Plus 334.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not an absolutely gratuitous offense at times, because it most certainly is. And the pitching staff for the Dodgers has been especially filthy this year, despite not having one of their biggest weapons with everything that happened with the kid that used to pitch in Cleveland.
Bauer?
Trevor Bauer. Thank you.
Yeah, Trevor Bauer. Now, what if I were to tell you that when you dive into the statistics and the expected win-loss record, the Dodgers actually underperformed.
No, I'd believe it.
When you look at the metrics, their expected win-loss would have tied those very Seattle Mariners at 116 and 46.
Well, I think the Dodgers took their foot off the gas towards the last week of the regular season as well.
They did. But with a team with this level of pitching, a team with this level of defense, I'm with you on the 7.
But you think it's 2020 all over again.
Give me the Dodgers.
And the appropriateness of this being that both of us stuck to our preseason predictions.
Mm-hmm.
Erik had Yankees Dodgers. I had Yankees Braves. $1996. 1999. Braves fans remember what those 2 years mean. 1998 as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was 3 times in 4 years.
For that specific matchup?
I believe so.
98 was Padres.
So Yankees Padres?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, 99 was the year that Atlanta won up 2-0, and then the Yankees took 4 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And then I specifically remember that because that was the second of 3 straight for the Yankees then.
Yeah, because
98 against San Diego, 99 against Atlanta, 2000 in the Subway Series against the Mets.
Yep, and then they fell in Game 7 in 0-1 to Arizona.
Luis Gonzalez's walk-off single. '96, '99. The same Yankees are the last team to go back-to-back, too. Remember what I said about the National League Divisional Series?
Mm-hmm.
Karma's a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a Braves fan. Braves in 6.
You mentioned 1999. You mentioned 1996. I mentioned a quirky year in its own right, 1981.
A strike-shortened NFL season that year.
The NFL season was strike-shortened in 82. In 81, it was baseball that had the strike-shortened season.
Man, what was it with work stoppages in the early 80s?
You had what was the 11th and to date most recent Yankees-Dodgers series.
Can I guess? Yankees 7-4.
I want to say it's 6-5, but I'll double check on that one.
Okay.
You had 2 big names. One you won't remember for a specific reason. One you will. A dominant pitcher from a small town in Mexico. Fernando Valenzuela. Fernando Mania. Dominated. He started that season with an opening day shutout. And he was the one who ended up finishing the job, getting the Dodgers that title. The other name that you think about in a different way, does the name Tommy John ring a bell?
Oof. Yeah, unfortunately, as a sports fan.
77 Dodgers, 78 Dodgers, 81 Yankees. His team made the World Series all 3 of those years, and he ended up on the losing side. He'll be happy about this, and our good fan from the R&R Sports Report, Randy Isbell, will be happy about this. While it might not be walking out of a bar downtown and from an after party from an independent movie premiere at 1 something in the morning when I skipped class that day to go to said movie premiere, when that last out happened at Yankee Stadium, I was among a small crowd shouting, "Fuck the Yankees." It'll most likely be a Dodger Stadium, but I'm probably going to be making that same chant. And what would be the first Yankees-Dodgers series of my lifetime on a year that is historic as this, the Yankees finally win their first title since 2009.
Would be the 28th in franchise history, I believe.
Yep. Pinstripes in 7. It's just set up too perfectly for that.
I know one thing, Eric. If you are a sports fan, the Holy Grail is upon us for 2022. The National Football League is in the midst of its regular season, having made it to week 5 already. Major League Baseball's postseason started as of today. NHL and NBA preseason action are both underway. The 2 favorite words of the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report are upon us. Sports Equinox. And the best part about it is, at least in Major League Baseball, at least for one of us in the National Football League, and for one of us in the National Hockey League as well, hope springs eternal.
And I get to say these 2 words again as the regular season of the NHL is in fact officially begun. And I know someone else is lurking and is going to want to hear these 2 words too. Fuck Colorado.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, fuck Colorado. They can sit on a cactus and rotate. Fuck Colorado.
I mean, as a Red Wings fan, concurred. Just on general principle.
1996, enough said.
96, 97,
Bullshit.
98, 2000. If you're a sports fan, such as us, as apparently we've lost Erik. If you're a sports fan such as us, it is the most wonderful time of the year to be one. Chef's kiss indeed.
It's the most wonderful. Oh, wait a minute. We're still a couple of months early for that.
I look forward to keeping track, Erik. Same rules as last time.
Same rules as last time, and I'll even put these up in a spreadsheet.
One for the wild card round, 2 for the DS, 3 for the CS, and 4 for the WS.
Yeah, because was it 1, 2, 3, 4, or was it 1, 2, 4, 8?
I mean, we can do it either way. It doesn't matter.
1, 2, 3, 4 to make it easier.
And the thing about it is same rules for a number of games as well.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the round is, it's that amount of points in bonus.
That works for me.
We will keep you guys updated here on the All Sports Edition for our MLB predictions. Mr. Watkins,
Hmm?
I do believe we have a couple of regular seasons to preview. I'm thinking maybe the next 2 weeks of the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report preview the upcoming NBA and NHL seasons.
I mean, I'm down, especially since I have more stake in the game with my fantasy basketball league. And of course, hockey, because, yeah, I'm looking at you. We will meet.
And me, because I'm in your division as well.
Oh, well, of course.
Weirdly enough. I mean, in fairness, the Islanders are in that same division, so, geography means nothing in the NHL.
No, they're not.
Oh no, the Islanders are in the Metro, aren't they? We're all in the Atlantic.
Yeah, along with the Canadian teams.
Man, geography means nothing in the NHL. All right. Erik has to finish and go talk to Mama Watkins. Brian looks like he's focusing on his game.
How do you know I'm in a game? I'm not in a game. What are you talking about?
Because you're staring at the screen and clicking indiscriminately.
You can hear that?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Oh, well, I'm still not in a game. I don't know what you're talking about.
The point being is for the CEO of American Whammy Media and American Whammy Productions, Brian Espinoza, and the HNIC of the American Whammy Media podcast group, Not a Network podcasts on YouTube. Search for Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report as well. You'll find us through that. At Not a Network Pods on Twitter. I need Erik here for the Twitch because I never keep track of. Oh, it's still AWP podcast, right?
Yeah.
Yep, twitch.tv/AWP podcast.
Which is in the process of being transitioned, as I understand.
It'll get fixed eventually, yes.
For Erik Watkins, I'm the voice of reason, allegedly. My name is Harry Broadhurst. You have been listening to the All Sports edition of the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
Sports in black and white.
And Spanish.
Ridiculous.
Now all we need is an R.
That was your R. Ridiculous. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you guys next week here on the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report, a presentation of Not a Network.